Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tuesday Tips and Tricks at 2, brought to you by Be So Creative. And I'm your host, Sandy Smith. Becky and I are still having some technical difficulties. We'd like to know if you can see me. So if you're seeing me, please type into the chat, hi, or some other such something so that we know that you know that we're doing this show. Okay, Becky's peeking at Facebook now to see if we're getting any response from you. Can't tell if you're there. Maybe we'll just run go get Sharon.
Just go.
Yeah? Okay, we're going to keep going. Maybe it's us, maybe it's Maybelline. We don't sell Maybelline here. Please don't come to the store looking for cosmetic products. All right. Seriously though, I did want to talk to you today a little bit about using the piping tool, and also let's just pull this on over. Okay, today, piping cording. Piping cording can be purchased in this very, very fine little cord. The cool thing about doing piping, I've decided that I needed to run an experiment on my quilt. And the cool thing about using cording is that it prevents that piping from sitting all the way flat. If I flattened it out, then it feels to me like a crease or just, well, a flat fold. But what I really was hoping for is a little bead of color around the edge of my quilt. So piping cording is what I have inserted into my narrow strip. You see that big old crookedy basting stitch? That is the way I trapped my piping inside my folded fabric. Now, this is a rough cut with a rough basting stitch, and that is not at all what I want my piping to do when I'm done. Let's take a second and back up, because remember this little thing? This one is that one that I very first, like all the way quilted on something that was as large as this. And this is where I want to have just the tiniest little edge of this little citrine green to kind of mimic what's going on here with the triangles and with the little spots. First steps first, we're going to take our piping, and I want to introduce you to my good friend. Let's move things. This is the Grooving Piping Trim Tool. Is that easy to see, Becky, or do I need to lay it back down?
Pretty good.
All right. What you see is that we've got two grooves. And the distance from the edge of the ruler to the groove is different on either side. In the case of my little teeny baby piping that I want right by my binding, I want 1/4 of an inch. This guy is groovy. Oh yeah. Here we go. That little lip on the inside of the tool allows me to trap the piping. Becky, why don't you come on over and see if you can see it right from the top. How are we doing? Good enough? Okay, you can see that the piping is trapped in the tool. What you cannot see is what my hand is feeling. And what my hand is feeling is that I actually am going to move the whole piping rather than roll off the edge of that. So it pushes my cording right up against my fold and traps it right there, so that then, let's see if I can do this awkwardly, I can trim things down. Oh my goodness. There we go. Then I can trim things down to exactly 1/4 of an inch. I can scooch on down to my next little section, keeping that piping trapped right underneath there. And scoot along, scoot along. That seems like it should be a primary song. You know, something like Ring Around the Rosies, only scoot along, scoot along. Keep your piping trim, scoot along, scoot along. Oh, what fun to pipe. I don't know. Okay, moral of the story, you get the idea. And now I have exactly 1/4 inch as I hoped. It's hard to tell with my crooked black basting stitch. You'll have to take my word for it. Okay? The other piece that I wanted to show you for our tips and tricks is to introduce you to tape. This tape is a 1/4 inch wide. Both of these guys. We've got one here that's the Wash Away Wonder tape, and we've got this guy here that is not wash away. Neither one of these are actually strong enough to maintain adhesion with the fabric permanently. Both of them require that you stitch things in. So do not trust it to be a seam construction situation. But it is a really good placeholder so that when I am working on things, tiny blanket here, I can make use of the tape to get my piping right in place. Now, I could, if I wanted to, just go ahead and lay down one giant piece all the way down. Do, 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 do. See how nicely that breaks off? I could do that. But that to me seems like that's a lot of use of tape. So really, the more economic version of this is just for me to work in smaller pieces. Oh my. And give it down. As you can tell, the paper backing is going to come off, and I can just work in spaces. Excuse me. There we go. So I can work in segments. I don't need to use the full line. With my now accurately cut piping, on my knee, woohoo! Good job, Becky, thank you. I can remove the tape and lay my piping right down. By so doing, I now skip the step of trying to pin piping in place. And the reason I would want to skip the pinning of the piping is because as I try to pin, I'm likely to shift things because the physics of the pin is that it pierces, rises, and returns. So it creates that lump, no matter how good of a pinner you are. And you'll notice I still have all of my extra batting and my backing because I like to have this extra piece to hang on to until the very last end. I usually don't cut it off until I'm completely ready to wrap the binding all the way around. So I like to keep it there. This is keeping everything nicely in place. And we're going to come over here and bring the sewing machine forward. This is our good friend today. We are being visited by the Bernina 590. And I've got my machine set up with the Bernina zipper foot. I don't know how well you can tell on camera, but I've got that little tiny bit of an edge, and I've got my needle a long way over. It's not quite as far as it can go because I still want to give myself a little bit of space for when I put the binding on. But what I'm working on doing here is doing another basting stitch. So I need to lengthen my stitch, and we're just going to do a few inches so that you can see how I'm letting that foot ride right against the edge, and you'll see how my piping is staying right in place because I have that cool tape. That is what we've got there. Okay? So here's our little edge, and what you're going to see when it finishes, it's going to be so cute. I'll show it to you when it's all the way done. Don't you worry. Okay. One of the other places that we can use this fun tape, which by the way is a new discovery for me, which is why I wanted to share it with you, is, oh no, I've lost my zipper. I found it. Hold on. Disaster averted. Okay. When you are working with zippers, zippers are another place where it's tricksy to be able to use your pins. And if you're not able to get your clips in, or sometimes the clips, as they're being pushed out of the way by the machine, kind of pull things crookedy, this is another really great option. And particularly with the wash away version, you don't even have to worry about it staying in there. So you can actually go ahead and tape your zipper right in place. Again, you can just decide whether you're using the smaller pieces or the larger pieces. Go ahead and put it out there on the outer edge of your zipper. Then it gets tucked into your fabric, and you've got your basting in tape. Just in case tape is not your thing and you are a glue sort of person, we also have the glue basted. Basting glue is a great choice if you're willing to be patient just a moment to let it dry. We have these guys with the 2 different needle tip applicator, and I'll tell you a little secret. If you are the sort of quilter person who likes to do things quick and dirty, an Elmer's glue will work. But this guy actually has the basting, the little needles. So you're going to get more precise application, and that's why you might want to go ahead and choose to do this one anyway. But if you're at home and you're in the middle of a pandemic and you can't get to the store, Elmer's glue will work. This is just going to be cooler, and it's also pH neutral, so if you're doing an heirloom project, this is the better way to go. Real short and sweet today, you guys. Those are our tips and tricks. Next week, we are going to start showing you our entries for our quilting competition. We've got some beautiful things that have come in, and we'll have some more information on what those quilts look like and how you can vote. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tuesday, Tips and Tricks at 2. We will see you next time. Bye.